People who did badly in school. What are you doing today? Self-employed. I go to rich people's houses and do minor repairs and housework. Every house needs maintenance done. Example, changing light bulbs for people that can't climb ladders. Most of it's simple. It's unlimited easy work. I was really lazy throughout high school. I'm still lazy to a point, but I'm a teacher now and trying to help students who are like I was. Same here. Coasted with a C average. I was really good in English but couldn't be bothered to do work. I really wish there was someone to push me back then. I think I was a problem child and I was also the youngest, so my parents just didn't care anymore. 60k a year but only work 7 months a year. I'm happy, can't wait to get back to work in May though. I budget my cash so that's not an issue, I'm just bored with everything closed. Always tested really well. Got bad grades because it was hard for me to focus on things like homework. Got into college based on my ACT score while my GPA was well below their minimum requirement. My trouble focusing turned into trouble getting motivated to get out of bed and go to class. Dropped out and started doing manual labor. Got lucky and got into a high-paying trade. My employer pays me to go to school and pays my tuition, and since it's work related with time set aside to get it done, I'm finding it much easier to maintain my attention. Hoping to transfer my credits and go for a mechanical engineering degree when I'm done now that I've found an area that I find interesting and comes naturally to me. I suspect a lot of people who think they are lazy and or dumb have just never found something they were interested in. That should be the goal of schools, to help you find what you are interested in. Barely graduated high school. I'd go to my first hour, find out where the party was at night, then skip the rest of the day. I remember begging my gymnastics teacher to give me a D so I'd have enough credit to graduate, which I did. Barely. Now, I am an educator working with at-risk students, just like I was. I have an associate's, a bachelor's, 2 masters, and am about 6 months away from completing a PhD in psychology. Turns out I love school, just not high school. As an educator myself, in my experience, I have found that the teachers who connect the best with students, particularly at-risk populations, were not enthusiastic about school in their youth. Kids know how to sniff out bulls, and I think when you are able to truly understand where they are coming from, it speaks volumes. HVAC. A lot of the trades seem to be physically able, almost entirely for several reasons. Men of some intelligence. Let me just say it is so much easier to remember how to do math when it has a definite purpose as opposed to being the problem of the week. I'm a software engineer. Don't get too excited though. I have a college diploma instead of a university degree. College in Canada, and have been chronically underpaid as a result. Canada chronically underpays. I had a master's degree and worked at a high-end research institution for 39k a year. I stock shelves. It's decent paying job and I work while the store is closed, so no customers. About to get a nice pay raise. Dropped out of high school due to some unfortunate circumstances. I also sucked at math and my algebra teacher was a pedo. Took multiple D's in high school and graduated college with a few F's and a sub 3.0 GPA. It took years of working full-time while taking night classes, studying for the MICIT, soul searching, great mentors, lucky to have bosses that cared, wife who naturally has good work ethic to learn from, and true self-growth to turn course. This year I'm graduating medical school with honors and hopefully will be in a residency for internal medicine by the time July rolls around. I'm a biomedical scientist. I didn't do well in school when I was younger, especially in maths. Now, when I meet former teachers, they look at me in disbelief when I tell them what I do for a living. Years after I graduated, just barely. I think at one point I started to realize that learning isn't that hard. I just had to start. My friend was very smart but very unmotivated. I was his only nerd friend and no one else really passed him as a standout brain. His family member got a life-affecting injury and he decided to be a doctor specializing in those, and he did it. But it was a big shock to non-me people. So lots of people are posting funny stuff on here, but I wanted to motivate. I almost failed my second half of junior year and senior year. I was told by 2 teachers not to even try with college because I would fail horribly. I ended up joining the Coast Guard and now have 2 degrees and stuff I found out I was actually passionate about. And my last duty assignment in the CG was working in the White House Situation Room to handle any emergencies that came up. I held one of the highest security clearances someone can get and loved every minute of it. In my free time I run a photography studio with my wife. Just because you do bad at school or a job doesn't mean you will fail at life. Once you find that passion, run with it and don't let anyone stop you. Graduated high school with a 1.97 GPA. I just didn't do my work. Last class I failed was ceramics. There are various reasons for my poor performance that I won't bother to get into. Managed to go to a tech school for a year. Did well enough. Transferred to a university and graduated in 3 years with a BA in English. Worked menial and low paying jobs after graduation as I couldn't figure out how to get a decent job with actual advancement opportunity. Moved to South Korea and taught English for 2 years. Came back and applied for a couple hundred jobs before finally getting 2 interviews and offers. One was for overnight IT support that paid barely above minimum wage. One included an offer for a salary that was beyond anything I hoped for. A starting offer of $48,000. Operations analyst, aka technical analyst in the discovery industry. I took that job. Quickly moved up with various promotions and pay raises over 5 years, ultimately becoming a team lead. Then moved on to double what my salary had become as a project manager. I did poorly in high school and my first semester of college. After that I did okay. I'm a supervisor in a public school district. I'm in charge of an entire department and have 42 direct reports. How the turntables. I'm working at a great job that I really enjoy and am valued in my current team. People genuinely ask me for help and that gives me immense joy. Something that I never ever heard in school. I was an average student. I completely dropped out of school at 16. Virtually zero qualifications. I went back to education in my mid-20s. Became a lawyer and am now general counsel for a multi-billion-dollar healthcare business, having lived in nearly a dozen countries on the way to this gig. I kind of missed out on my 20s, but it was worth it. I'm in sales and have been for over 10 years. I do pretty well. Gross about 70k a year. I was the guy who would ace all the tests but do no homework and ditch a lot. So I barely passed HS and didn't go to college. If you have an outgoing personality and are able to effectively communicate, sales is great, assuming you can handle rejection. Same. And if you've got a criminal record, go the car sales route. We take everyone. Working 6 days a week, 9-10 hours per day, delivering mail for the United States Postal Service. Just desperately trying to provide for my family and get myself into a position where I can retire someday. Job satisfaction and or enjoyment play absolutely no role in this. Brother, that last part, I've not heard a truer statement on the matter. Making $60k a year, in a very cheap part of the US. Living in a 2000 SQFT home with no real troubles to speak of. I went from barely graduating high school to the dean's list in college, junior college, then transferred to state college. Just to get a degree in something. Heck, even a 2-year tech degree. In fact, my friends with 2-year tech degrees make more money than me. Just do something. Work isn't supposed to be your passion. If you do what you love, you won't love it for long. Just find something that is tolerable and co-workers you can get along with. Don't go to work at a place that will beat you up for low pay. Just get a degree in something. From what I've noticed, the people who benefit financially from college usually went with a specific career in mind. The people that I know who are doing the best are those who dropped out to pursue a job opportunity, and those who went with a specific career in mind. I didn't do poorly in school. I was solidly average, but I just had no motivation to try hard. I joined the Navy after high school and it helped me to find the discipline I needed in my life. After I left the Navy, I completed 2 college degrees and I was the valedictorian at both of my graduations. I now work as a network engineer for a telecom company. I just needed to find the right path for myself, and public school in the southeastern United States just wasn't it. More or less retired now, but I've worked as a temp, everywhere from law firms to warehouses. Worked as a server, did the janitor thing, ran a few hotels, bartended, managed an architectural office with over 40 people, served in the military, and the best jobs in both pay and personal enjoyment were all due to connections, life experience instead of education. The best jobs in both pay and personal enjoyment were all due to connections, life experience instead of education. Sounds like things have changed very little. I wasn't terrible, but I wasn't smart either. I don't think I got higher than a C in any of my important classes. Decided to skip college and go to trade school instead, not doing anything related to the trade I studied, fire alarms, security systems, etc. Currently married, working in IT, doing pretty well. For those seeing this thread that are still in school, not getting great grades, don't think that just because a bunch of random people from Reddit were able to be successful, you will be too. I know people that were in the same position as me in HS, and they're still struggling to this day. Former dropout, now running my own business. My brother, a student, works in medical research. We both make same income. Degrees matter only if required in workplace. I actually did really well until probably about age 12. I had a PTSD-induced psychotic break because of a seriously abusive home. By the time I was stable enough to function again, I was 15 and way behind on high school credits because I just couldn't bring myself to give a crap anymore. I just wanted to hold on to the small thread of mental stability I had long enough to escape my parents and really start to heal. So I dropped when I turned 16, got a job, moved out, and got emancipated. Got my equivalent within a few months and passed it with flying colors. When I was about 24, I felt healthy enough to go to college. I did all my basic required stuff at a community college, then got accepted to a university's psych program. My plan was to be a counselor for kids and teens that were impatient. I was 5-ish credits short of my master's when my chronic illness, that I didn't even know I had, overtook me and it became a struggle to function at all. Now I'm disabled, raising my teenager, doing lots of arts and crafts type stuff to keep busy and pull a little extra cash. I was smart and hardworking. I just had other priorities at the time. That's why I try not to judge anyone who didn't graduate high school. I don't know what their situation was at the time. Had a kid at 16. Graduated HS in the bottom 10%. Ended up getting a job as a production welder. Kept changing jobs and moving up. And eventually became an engineer at a Fortune 100 company. Nobody ever thought I was dumb. Quite the opposite, but my unwillingness to complete busy work kept my grades from getting me into classes that could have actually challenged me. I was a C student as a kid. The average student in associates. Took 3 years off while my husband did his bachelor's degree, and had 2 kids, then went back to college. Finished my bachelor's with a 3.98 GPA. Only had 1A the whole time. I was about to have my 3rd kid when I graduated. Now I'm a stay-at-home mom teaching my 2nd grader, kindergartner and pre-K kids. Currently a CAD designer in oil gas industry making over $60 HR. High school dropout, drugs, petty crime. Cleaned up, joined military, took a computer science class, started small computer repair business, closed, got a job then laid off, started metal fabrication business, got slow so made it part-time, got entry CAD design career, been working my way up for 12 years. Through the years I have always had some side hustle going, whether it general contracting, auto repair, mowing lawns, or working part-time somewhere. I am currently working 50 hours at day job, then 30 plus hours on side with metal fab business. Gave up school when I was 16. Still went to college but never finished anything. I was in a really bad place mentally and all I thought about was drugs and party. For 9 months straight I was selling drugs and taking them like it was nothing and partying like 3-4 days a week. And OMG, I used to think friends were everything important I needed. Dumb. I'm 20 now trying to get my life back together in Scotland. I just thought I had to put a stop to all that and called my mom. Booked a flight and in less than a week I was here. Still have time and my parents are helping me through it, so yeah, hopefully in 2 years or so I'll be a qualified welder. Found my passion last year during lockdown. Welding is quite a nice thing to do, and we'll see what to do from there. I'm a union electrician in a big city, making over 100k a year at 27. I wasn't a dumb kid, excelled in grade school, just didn't apply in high school and barely got by. Joined the trades while my peers were in college and realized it was the perfect job for me, and I never looked back. Hope this helps someone out there. College isn't always the answer. I smoked hella weed in HS and dropped a little acid. Got my crap together senior year, but still graduated a year late. Worked like 5 jobs at once for 4-5 years. Now a nurse for the last 15 years. I will never be in school again. Never. Working as an insurance underwriter. I've been with the same company for 6 years now. Thankfully everything has worked out so far. LOL. Left school with almost no qualifications. Started working a Christmas temp position at a retail store at 18 years old. Ended up becoming the youngest store manager for said company and have traveled the country helping set up other stores, train staff, etc. Never went to high school due to reasons. Instead I became an apprentice and did a baker and chef course at the same time. So I worked at an entry level and got an education at the same time. Now I'm kinda second in command at a local bakery and got my own apprentice to teach. I was one of the kids who did extremely well in school. I can tell you without reserve that nearly every rich CEO of the companies I have worked for did not do as well in school as I did. They're rich, and I'm working for them. And I don't begrudge them one bit. They ran companies while I solved problems. That should tell you something about success. Book smarts are not everything. Book smarts are not everything. Yet, it tells me that being born rich is everything. Graduated high school with a 2.1 GPA. Went to trade school to be an automotive technician. I did well at trade school. Bought my house at 25 and now, at 29, going to trade school again to be an electrician because the auto industry is bulls LOL. I did horrible in high school, but I completely crushed college and then law school too. I took 3 years off after high school, worked a lot and volunteered a bit. I found a passion for Spanish language and started studying it daily. When I started college, I was motivated, and I felt like I finally knew how to study. Also, I had a bunch of money saved up, so I barely got in any debt for my undergraduate degree. I crushed college big time and set myself up to get in a decent law school with a scholarship. I work in IT and get to fix the problems of people who did better than me but are somehow stupider. Also I get paid more than them. Did freaking terrible in school, bitten of the food chain, bullied, depressed AF, not a drop of confidence. But now I'm a dispenser in a pharmacy and I couldn't be happier. It gets better. I dropped out of school when I was 14. Eventually earned my high school diploma at 19 or 20 via distance learning. I've been a nurse for almost 3 years now and am able to support myself. After a 5-year stint in sales project management making over $100k a year, I decided to become a letter carrier. It's a great job with an amazing work-life balance and good benefits but doesn't pay well. I'm doing well. I didn't do well at all in high school but I got in the machining trade directly after school and actually applied myself. I've made a good living for myself and my family. Environmental consultation for one of the biggest home builders on the US. It's pretty common sense stuff that almost literally anyone could do with minimum training. Just a fancy schmancy title with a few verifications for watching 8 hours of videos and taking tests online with pretty much endless job opportunities from the certifications. Long story incoming, was top of my class out of HS, 3rd out of 415, but has no idea how to actually study. Went into pre-med, bio major, and fell into gaming addiction. Wow. I essentially flunked out of college, left with a 2.0 GPA, didn't finish the degree. After college, I worked at Myer as a cashier, then got a job as an admin at a healthcare consulting company, was making $16 per hour. Not terrible but not great, but was in a terrible relationship and decided to move in with her. So we were barely making it, paycheck to paycheck. Got laid off, but got a decent severance package. My GF then broke up with me, so there I was, a recovering gaming addict, With no job and recently single, I took stock of what I wanted out of life and how the heck I was going to get there. I took a week to just research what I wanted to do and decided to go back to school for electrical engineering. I sucked it up and re-entered school at 28. I threw my everything into it this time. I tutored math my first year and a half to make ends meet, moved in with my grandparents to save on costs, until I was able to land my first internship. I took no less than 17 credit HRS per semester and just busted my butt. The key to me succeeding was setting small goals. 1. Meet with my advisor no less than once every other week. 2. Have my next 3 semesters planned out. 3. Meet with each professor no less than once every other week for review, etc. Even if I had nothing pressing to talk about, I went anyway. Heck, just shoot the breeze for a few minutes. You'll be amazed how much easier school gets if you get to know your administration a bit. Now, my transcripts were a mess. I had a huge gap with a crappy GPA for years, but I used that to my advantage when interviewing for my internships. It's easy for a company to look at a pristine transcript from a younger person, but my transcripts told a story about someone who made mistakes but learned from them and was making progress. I remember my best internship, automotive supplier. The guy I interviewed with had me come in at 4 PM on a Friday, usually a bad sign. After we reviewed my resume and transcripts and he heard my story, he offered me the job on the spot. I worked there for the rest of my schooling, 2 years. I also met the woman who would become my wife while interning there. She was also coming back to start a new career. I finished my engineering degree with a 3.94 GPA, 3.45 cumulative with my old crappy GPA, and 2 full-time job offers. So, a lot of ups and downs. But now I'm married, working at a top automotive OEM as a team lead with my wife, SW engineer. We own a nice little house and have a great dog. Sorry for the novel, but I honestly feel like it's a really relatable story for men on Reddit. I'm in the fine dining industry, and even though I'm not making nearly as much money as some of my old classmates and friends, I'm so happy and fulfilled. I love using my mind and my body in the kitchen. I had a lot of trouble in school and wasn't diagnosed with ADD until I was a couple years out of college. Thankfully, this profession is one of the few where ADD can be an advantage sometimes. Haha, no regrets. I still love to learn and read, but school structure didn't work for me. I'm really hopeful to see the education system undergoing change and alternate schooling gain traction. I wasted a lot of time and self-esteem feeling dumb for not being able to put the pieces together like other students. I'm the kind of person that learns better from doing than just reading a book. I really don't get the idea to read it, remember it for a month or so, take a test and then forget about it because you'll never use it. I started working at a bank, back office first, and worked my way up to account manager. Office closed, and after a few temporary jobs I now work at a large import-export company for all types of wood and wood products for in the garden. I work there as an account manager as well. As a big hobbyist woodworker, I really like what I'm doing. I also have no complaint about my income, but don't let my boss know that. Went in the Navy, changed my life. College on the GI Bill, retired out of IT 4 years ago. No one is more surprised than me. I work full-time in retail, with a family and a mortgage, but it makes me feel better that I'm doing better than half the students in my class that finished school and have diplomas. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.